They say love can make you do crazy things. But dying for someone? That takes a special kind of stupid. And trust me, I was the king of stupid when it came to Sarah. For 8 years, I was her devoted husband, her shield against the world, her backup plan when things got rough. I thought what we had was real. I thought she loved me back. But sometimes it takes dying to see the truth. And when I came back from that cold, white place between life and death, when my heart started beating again and my lungs filled with air, the first word that came out of my mouth wasn't her name. It wasn't help or water or even where am I? It was divorce. Let me tell you how I got there. How 8 years of marriage died on an operating table right alongside me. And how sometimes, you have to lose everything to realize you never had anything at all. My name is David, and for 8 years, I was the perfect husband. At least, that's what everyone told me. Sarah's friends would always joke about how lucky she was to have someone like me. David's so patient, they'd say. David's so understanding. David would do anything for Sarah. They were right about that last part. I would do anything for her. And I did. Sarah was a lawyer at one of those big fancy firms downtown. Long hours, high stress, big money. She was good at what she did, really good. But being good came with a price. She'd come home exhausted, cranky, sometimes not at all. And I was always there waiting. I'd make her favorite dinner, chicken parmesan with that special sauce her mom taught me. I'd run her a hot bath with those expensive bath salts she loved. I'd massage her shoulders while she complained about her boss, her cases, her impossible deadlines. I listened to every word, remembered every detail, tried to make her life as easy as possible. "You're too good to me," she'd say sometimes, kissing my cheek. And I'd smile, thinking I was the luckiest man alive. See, I worked from home doing freelance graphic design. It wasn't glamorous like Sarah's job, but it paid the bills and gave me the flexibility to take care of everything else. The house, the groceries, the laundry, her dry cleaning, her car maintenance, her doctor appointments. I became the invisible force that kept her life running smoothly. And I was happy to do it. At least, I thought I was. Looking back now, I can see the signs I ignored. The way she'd flinch when I tried to hold her hand in public. How she'd change the subject whenever her coworkers asked about me. The separate bedrooms we'd had for 3 years that I told myself was just because she was a light sleeper. But love makes you blind, doesn't it? It makes you explain away the things that should worry you. It makes you grateful for scraps when you deserve a feast. It happened on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were grocery shopping days, and I was making a list when my phone rang. Sarah's number. "David?" Her voice was shaky, scared. "Can you come to the hospital? There's been an accident." My heart stopped. "Are you hurt? What happened? Which hospital?" "St. Mary's." "I'm okay, but..." She paused, and I could hear voices in the background. "Just come, please. Room 314. I dropped everything and drove like a madman across town. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Had she been in a car accident? Had someone hurt her? Was she really okay like she said? I ran through the hospital corridors, taking the stairs 2 at a time because the elevator was too slow. Room 314. I burst through the door, ready to hold her, comfort her, tell her everything would be fine. But Sarah wasn't hurt. She was sitting in a chair next to a hospital bed, holding the hand of a man I'd never seen before. He was unconscious, bandaged, hooked up to machines that beeped and hummed. And Sarah was crying like I'd never seen her cry before. "Sarah?" I said, confused. "What's going on? Who is this?" She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. "David, this is Marcus. He was in a car accident." She squeezed the stranger's hand tighter. "He needs surgery, but he doesn't have insurance. The surgery costs $50,000. My stomach dropped. "Okay, that's terrible, but why did you call me? Do you know him from work?" Sarah's face crumpled. "David, we." She took a shaky breath. "Marcus is my boyfriend. We've been together for 2 years." The world stopped spinning. The machines kept beeping, the fluorescent lights kept humming, but everything else went completely silent. I stared at my wife of 8 years, the woman I devoted my life to, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone. "Your boyfriend," I repeated slowly. "I know how this looks," she said quickly. "I know you're hurt. But I need you to help me save him. The surgery has to happen tonight, or he might die. Please, David. I'll pay you back, I promise. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud in that sterile hospital room. You want me to pay for your boyfriend's surgery? I love him, she whispered. I know you don't understand, but I love him more than I've ever loved anyone. And if he dies? She started crying again. Please. You're the only person I know who has that kind of money saved up. She was right. I did have $50,000 saved up. It was our emergency fund, built up over years of careful budgeting and sacrifice. Money I'd saved by buying generic groceries instead of name brand, by driving my car into the ground instead of buying a new one, by choosing stay-at-home vacations instead of exotic trips. Money I'd saved for our future. For the house we'd talked about buying, for the kids we'd maybe have someday, for the life I thought we were building together. How long? I asked quietly. What? How long have you been cheating on me? Sarah flinched like I'd slapped her. It wasn't supposed to happen. Marcus is a client, and we connected. He understands my work, my stress. He gets me in a way that I don't, I finished. She didn't deny it. I looked at the man in the bed. He was handsome, I had to admit. Tall, muscular, with the kind of strong jaw and perfect hair that probably looked great in a suit. The kind of man who belonged in Sarah's world of power lunches and corporate events. The kind of man I would never be. Please, Sarah said again. I know I hurt you, and I know this is asking too much, but he's everything to me. I can't lose him. And there it was. After 8 years of marriage, my wife was begging me to save the man she really loved. The man she'd chosen over me. The man who got the part of her heart I'd been trying to reach for almost a decade. Any smart person would have walked away. Would have told her to figure it out herself, would have gone home and called a divorce lawyer. Any person with an ounce of self-respect would have said no. But I wasn't smart. And apparently, I didn't have any self-respect left. Okay, I said. I'll pay for the surgery. Sarah's face lit up with relief and gratitude. Thank you. Oh God, thank you so much. I knew you'd understand. You're such a good person, David. A good person. Right. That's what I was. The good person who paid for his wife's boyfriend's surgery. The surgery took 6 hours. 6 hours of sitting in that uncomfortable waiting room chair while my wife paced back and forth, checking her phone, calling Marcus's family to update them. 6 hours of watching the woman I loved worry about another man with an intensity I'd never seen her show for anything in our marriage. I tried to read a magazine, but the words blurred together. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sarah holding Marcus's hand. I tried to think about what I'd do next, but my brain felt like it was wrapped in cotton. Around hour 4, Sarah sat down next to me. Thank you, she said quietly. I know this can't be easy for you. It's not, I admitted. I never meant for you to find out this way. I was going to tell you, eventually. After the Henderson case wrapped up, I thought we could sit down and talk about us. About divorcing me, you mean? She was quiet for a long moment. Yes. I think that would be best for both of us. You deserve someone who can love you the way you love them. And I need to be with Marcus. I nodded, even though it felt like my chest was being crushed. How long have you been unhappy? It's not that I was unhappy, she said carefully. You're a wonderful husband, David. Any woman would be lucky to have you. But Marcus and we have this connection that I've never felt before. He challenges me, excites me. He makes me feel alive in a way that I don't, I said again. She touched my hand gently. I'm sorry. I really am. I never wanted to hurt you. But she had hurt me. More than I thought it was possible to hurt. And the worst part was, I understood. I could see why she'd choose Marcus over me. He was everything I wasn't, confident, successful, exciting. He was the leading man in his own life, while I'd spent 8 years being a supporting character in hers. Around hour 5, the surgeon came out. Dr. Peterson, a tired-looking man in his 50s with kind eyes. The surgery went well, he said, and Sarah burst into tears of relief. We were able to repair the internal bleeding and stabilize the fractures. He's not out of the woods yet, the next 24 hours will be critical, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Sarah grabbed my arm. Did you hear that? He's going to be okay. I managed a smile. That's great news. Can I see him? Sarah asked. He's in recovery now. Family only for the next few hours. Sarah hesitated, then looked at me. This is my husband, David. Can he come with me? The surgeon glanced between us, probably wondering why the husband looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Of course. Follow me. We walked through more sterile corridors to the recovery ward. Marcus was awake but groggy, surrounded by monitors and 4 drips. When Sarah saw him, she rushed to his bedside. Hey, beautiful, he said weakly, his voice rough from the breathing tube. You look terrible. Sarah laughed through her tears. You almost died, you idiot. Takes more than a truck to kill me. His eyes found mine over Sarah's shoulder. Who's this? Sarah tensed. Marcus, this is David. My husband. If Marcus was surprised, he didn't show it. He studied me with clear, intelligent eyes. The husband. Sarah's told me a lot about you. Has she? I said flatly. All good things. She says you're a good man. He tried to sit up a little straighter, wincing at the pain. I want you to know, I never meant for things to happen the way they did. Sarah and we tried to fight it, but sometimes you can't help who you fall in love with. At least he was honest. I had to give him that. How are you feeling? Sarah asked, fussing with his blankets. Like I got hit by a truck. Literally. He managed a weak smile. But I'm alive. That's what matters. They talked quietly for a few more minutes, about the accident, about his injuries, about how scared Sarah had been. I stood there like a piece of furniture, completely forgotten. Finally, a nurse came in to check Marcus's vitals. Visiting hours are almost over, she said. He needs his rest. Sarah kissed Marcus's forehead. I'll be back first thing in the morning. I know you will. He caught her hand. Sarah? Thank you. For everything. For being here, for taking care of the surgery costs. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. Sarah glanced at me nervously. Don't worry about that right now. Just focus on getting better. We left the hospital in silence. In the parking lot, Sarah turned to me. David, I want you to know, what you did tonight, paying for the surgery, it means everything to me. I won't forget it. Good, I said, surprising myself with the bitterness in my voice. Because it's the last thing I'm ever doing for you. I thought that was it. I thought I'd go home, pack my things, find a lawyer, and start the process of untangling 8 years of marriage. I thought I'd handled the worst night of my life with as much dignity as I could manage. I was wrong. We got home around midnight. Sarah went straight to the bedroom to call Marcus's sister and update her on his condition. I sat in the living room, staring at the photo on the mantel, our wedding picture, both of us smiling like we had the whole world figured out. That's when the pain started. At first, I thought it was just heartbreak. The physical ache in my chest felt like grief, and I assumed that's all it was. But then it got worse. Sharp, stabbing pains that took my breath away. My left arm started tingling, and sweat broke out on my forehead despite the cool air conditioning. I tried to stand up and stumbled, clutching the arm of the couch. The room spun around me, and I felt like I was drowning in thick air. Sarah, I called out, but my voice came out as a whisper. The pain in my chest exploded like a bomb going off. I fell to my knees, gasping, unable to breathe. My vision started going dark around the edges. Sarah. I tried again, louder this time. I heard her voice from the bedroom, muffled by the closed door. She was still on the phone, probably telling Marcus's family how brave and strong he was, how he was going to make a full recovery. The darkness crept in further. I crawled toward the hallway, my chest feeling like it was being crushed by an invisible weight. Each breath was a struggle, each heartbeat irregular and terrifying. I made it to the bottom of the stairs before I collapsed completely. The last thing I remember was the sound of Sarah's laughter drifting down from the bedroom, probably at something Marcus had said despite his injuries. Then everything went black. I floated in darkness for what felt like eternity. There was no pain here, no heartbreak, no crushing weight on my chest. Just nothing. Peaceful, quiet nothing. Sometimes I heard voices, distant and muffled like they were coming from underwater. Sarah's voice, crying. Please don't die. Please don't leave me. Other voices I didn't recognize, doctors, nurses, people saying medical words I didn't understand. I felt sorry for Sarah. Even after everything, even after Marcus, I didn't want her to hurt. I'd spent 8 years protecting her from pain, and here I was, causing her the worst pain of all. But I was so tired. So incredibly tired. It would be easy to let go, to drift away into that peaceful darkness forever. No more worrying about being good enough, no more trying to earn love that would never come. No more being the supporting character in someone else's story. The darkness was warm and welcoming. It whispered that I could rest now, that I'd done enough, that it was okay to stop fighting. And I almost listened. But then I heard something that made me pause. Sarah's voice, but not talking to me. Talking to someone else. Marcus, I'm so scared. What if I lose him? What if David dies? A man's voice answered, stronger now, probably on the phone from his hospital bed. Hey, it's going to be okay. David's tough. He'll pull through this. But what if he doesn't? What if the last conversation we had was about divorce? What if he dies thinking I don't care about him? Do you? Care about him, I mean? There was a long pause. Of course I care about him. He's been my whole world for 8 years. He's the kindest, most selfless person I've ever known. I love you, Marcus. I can't help that. I know, baby. And I love you too. But David's a good man. He doesn't deserve this. I know. God, I know. I feel like such a monster. He paid for your surgery without question, even after finding out about us. Who does that? Who is that generous to someone who's been lying to them for 2 years? Someone who loves you more than himself. Sarah started crying harder. I don't deserve him. I never deserved him. He gave me everything, and I threw it away for what? For excitement. For passion. For feeling special and desired. David loves me, but he loves me like I'm something fragile he needs to protect. You love me like I'm strong enough to handle anything. Different kinds of love. David's love is safe. Comfortable. Predictable. Your love is electric. It makes me feel alive. And now? Now I might lose them both. David might die, and even if he lives, he'll never forgive me. And you? Marcus, what if this changes how you see me? What if you realize I'm the kind of person who destroys good men? In the darkness, I listened to my wife cry for the husband she'd betrayed and the lover she might lose. And I realized something that cut through the peaceful numbness like a knife. She was right about one thing. My love was safe. Comfortable. Predictable. I'd loved her like she was fragile because I was afraid that if I challenged her, if I demanded more, she'd leave me. I'd settled for being her safe harbor instead of fighting to be her adventure. But Marcus loved her like an equal. He pushed her, challenged her, made her feel powerful instead of protected. He saw strength in her that I'd been too afraid to acknowledge. Maybe that's why she chose him. Not because I wasn't good enough, but because I'd never shown her how good I could be. I'd been so busy trying to be the perfect, non-threatening husband that I'd forgotten to be a man worth fighting for. The voices faded, and I was alone in the darkness again. But now it didn't feel peaceful. It felt empty. Hollow. Like I'd wasted 8 years of my life playing a role instead of living authentically. I thought about Marcus, fighting for his life just a few floors above me. He was a man who took risks, who went after what he wanted, who wasn't afraid to be seen and judged and possibly rejected. Even lying in a hospital bed, broken and bleeding, he had more courage than I'd shown in 8 years of marriage. And I thought about Sarah, torn between the safe love she'd grown tired of and the dangerous love that made her feel alive. I'd given her security, but I'd never given her passion. I'd given her comfort, but I'd never given her fire. The darkness whispered again that I could rest, that I could let go, that it would be easier than facing the truth about what I'd allowed my life to become. But for the first time in 8 years, I didn't choose the easy path. I chose to fight. Consciousness came back in pieces. First, the beeping of machines. Then the antiseptic smell of hospital air. Then the feeling of tubes and wires attached to my body, keeping me alive. My chest felt like it had been cracked open and put back together with duct tape. My throat was raw from the breathing tube they'd probably had to use. Every muscle in my body ached like I'd run a marathon while someone beat me with baseball bats. But I was alive. I opened my eyes slowly, blinking against the harsh fluorescent lights. The room came into focus gradually, white walls, medical equipment, a chair beside my bed where Sarah was sleeping, her head resting on her arms. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed and messy, her clothes wrinkled like she'd been wearing them for days. Her face was puffy from crying, and there were dark circles under her eyes that made her look older than her 32 years. For a moment, just a moment, I felt that familiar urge to comfort her. To reach out and smooth her hair, to tell her everything would be okay, to take care of her like I always had. But then I remembered where I was and why. I remembered Marcus in his hospital bed, Sarah holding his hand, the surgery I'd paid for. I remembered 2 years of lies and the conversation I'd overheard while floating between life and death. And I remembered the decision I'd made in that dark place. The choice to stop being safe and comfortable and predictable. Sarah stirred, probably sensing that I was awake. She lifted her head and looked at me with red, exhausted eyes that immediately filled with tears when she saw I was conscious. "David," she whispered. "Oh God, you're awake." I was so scared. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away before she could touch me. The movement sent a spike of pain through my chest, but it was worth it to see the confusion and hurt on her face. "How long?" I asked, my voice rough and barely audible. 3 days. You've been unconscious for 3 days. You had a massive heart attack, David. The doctors said, they said we almost lost you. 3 days. I'd been gone for 3 days while the woman I devoted my life to kept vigil beside my bed. Under different circumstances, it might have been romantic. The devoted wife, waiting for her husband to wake up, praying for a miracle. But I knew the truth now. I knew that her tears weren't just for me. They were for the guilt she carried, for the mess she'd made of both our lives, for the good man she'd destroyed with her selfishness. "How's Marcus?" I asked. Sarah flinched like I'd hit her. He's doing better. He was discharged yesterday. The surgery was successful, and he's expected to make a full recovery. Good. Wouldn't want my $50,000 to go to waste. She started crying again. "David, please. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but..." "Angry?" I interrupted, my voice getting stronger. "You think I'm angry? Aren't you?" I thought about it. Was I angry? I'd certainly been angry in that hospital waiting room, angry when I'd found out about the affair, angry when she'd asked me to pay for her boyfriend's surgery. But now? Now I felt something different. Something clearer and colder and infinitely more powerful than anger. "No," I said finally. "I'm not angry anymore." Sarah looked confused. "You're not? Anger is what you feel when someone doesn't meet your expectations. But you've been showing me exactly who you are for 2 years. I just wasn't paying attention." "David. I heard you," I said quietly. "While I was unconscious. I heard you talking to Marcus about me. About us." Her face went pale. "What did you hear?" "Everything. About how my love is safe and comfortable and predictable. About how his love makes you feel alive. About how you don't deserve me but you can't help loving him." Sarah covered her face with her hands. "David, I'm so sorry. I never meant for you to." "You were right." She looked up, startled. "What?" "You were right about everything. My love was safe. I did treat you like you were fragile. I was predictable." I met her eyes, and for the first time in 8 years, I didn't look away first. "But you were wrong about one thing." "What?" "You said you don't deserve me. But the truth is, Sarah, I don't deserve you either. Not because I'm not good enough, but because I never fought for you. I never showed you the man I could be if I stopped being afraid." She stared at me, confused and hurt and maybe a little afraid. This wasn't the David she knew. The David she knew would be apologizing by now, would be asking what he could do to fix things, would be begging her to give him another chance. But that David had died on this operating table 3 days ago. The man who'd come back wasn't safe or comfortable or predictable. He was something else entirely. A nurse came in to check my vitals, breaking the tension. "Oh wonderful, you're awake," she said cheerfully. "How are you feeling, Mr. Thompson?" "Like I've been hit by a truck," I said, which made her laugh. "That's normal after what you've been through. You gave everyone quite a scare. Your wife hasn't left your side since you were admitted." I looked at Sarah, who was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. "She's very dedicated. The doctor will want to see you now that you're awake. I'll go get him." The nurse bustled out, leaving Sarah and me alone again. "David," Sarah said quietly. "I need you to know that I never wanted this to happen. I never wanted you to get hurt." But I did get hurt. And I died, Sarah. Literally died. My heart stopped beating for 4 minutes. I know. The doctors told me. They said if the ambulance had been even a few minutes later, you would have been free, I finished. Free to be with Marcus without the messy complications of divorce proceedings. That's not what I was thinking. Wasn't it? Even a little bit? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a voice so small I almost didn't hear it, maybe. For just a second, when they said you might not make it, I thought about how much simpler everything would be. And then I hated myself for thinking it. At least she was being honest. That was more than she'd given me in 2 years. I want you to leave, I said. David. I want you to pack your things and move out. Today. Tonight. I don't care where you go, move in with Marcus, get your own place, go stay with your sister. I don't care. But I don't want you in my house when I get discharged. It's our house. Both our names are on the mortgage. Fine. We'll sort out the details later. But I want you gone. Sarah started crying again, but these weren't the desperate tears from before. These were quieter, sadder. The tears of someone who was finally accepting consequences for their choices. I love you, she said. I know you don't believe me, and I know I have a terrible way of showing it, but I do love you, David. You've been the best thing in my life for 8 years. But not the only thing. No. Not the only thing. I closed my eyes, suddenly exhausted. Then love me enough to let me go. The next few weeks were a blur of medical appointments, physical therapy, and paperwork. Sarah moved out while I was still in the hospital, leaving behind only a note apologizing again and promising to have her lawyer contact mine about the divorce proceedings. My sister Emma flew in from Seattle to help take care of me during the first week I was home. She didn't say much about the situation. Emma had never liked Sarah much anyway, but she did make sure I ate properly and took my medications and didn't try to do too much too soon. You know, she said one evening while we were watching a movie, I always thought you could do better than her. Did you? Sarah's beautiful and smart, I'll give her that. But she never seemed to appreciate what she had. She took you for granted. I thought about that. Maybe I let her. What do you mean? I mean maybe I made it too easy for her to take me for granted. Maybe I never gave her a reason to fight for me. Emma studied my face. You're different. How so? I don't know. Stronger, I guess. More present. Like you've been asleep for years and just woke up. She wasn't wrong. Dying had been like waking up from a long, comfortable dream. All those years of playing it safe, of being the perfect husband, of settling for scraps of affection, it felt like someone else's life now. My cardiologist cleared me to return to work after a month, with restrictions. No stress, regular exercise, better diet, more sleep. Basically, the opposite of how I'd been living for the past 8 years. I started saying no to things. No to rush jobs with impossible deadlines. No to clients who treated me poorly. No to working weekends and evenings just because someone else's poor planning had created an emergency. For the first time in my adult life, I put my own needs first. And you know what? The world didn't end. My business didn't collapse. If anything, the quality of my work improved because I was only taking on projects I actually cared about. 3 months after the heart attack, the divorce was finalized. Sarah kept her car and her retirement accounts. I kept the house and my business. We split the debts and the remaining savings, what was left after Marcus's surgery, anyway. She looked different at the final court hearing. Happier, but also sadder somehow. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before, and her hair was shorter. She looked like the successful lawyer she'd always been, but there was something missing. Some spark that used to be there. "How are you feeling?" she asked afterward, in the parking lot outside the courthouse. "Good. Better than I have in years, actually." "I'm glad. You look..." She hesitated. "You look good, David. Healthy. Happy. Thanks. How's Marcus?" "He's good. Back to work, fully recovered." She fidgeted with her purse strap. "We're engaged." "Congratulations." "Thank you." She was quiet for a moment. "David, I want you to know that I meant what I said in the hospital. I do love you. I probably always will, in my way. I know. And I love you too, Sarah. But we both deserve better than what we had. Do you think we could have made it work?" If things had been different? I thought about it honestly. Maybe. If I'd been braver earlier. If you'd been more honest. If we'd both fought harder for what we wanted instead of settling for what felt safe. Do you hate me? No. I'm grateful to you, actually. She looked surprised. Grateful? You showed me who I really am. Not the man I was pretending to be to keep you happy, but who I actually am underneath all that fear. I didn't know I had it in me to be strong until you forced me to be. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I wish I'd seen that man before it was too late. Maybe you did see him. Maybe that's why you pulled away. Maybe you knew I was capable of more than I was giving you. We stood there in the parking lot for a few more minutes, two people who'd shared 8 years of their lives trying to figure out how to say goodbye. Finally, Sarah wiped her eyes and straightened her shoulders. Take care of yourself, David. You too, Sarah. Be happy. She walked away toward her car, and I watched her go. For the first time since I discovered her affair, I felt genuinely sorry for her. Not sorry enough to take her back, not sorry enough to forgive and forget, but sorry that it had taken breaking both our hearts for either of us to see clearly. 6 months after the divorce was final, I did something I'd never done before in my life. I asked a woman out. Her name was Jennifer, and she was the physical therapist who'd helped me recover from the heart attack. She was 35, divorced herself, with a teenage daughter and a laugh that made me forget about everything else for a few seconds. We'd been flirting mildly during my sessions, nothing inappropriate, just the kind of easy banter that happens between people who genuinely like each other. When my therapy ended, I almost let her walk out of my life like I'd let so many opportunities pass me by before. But the new David, the man who'd died and come back different, didn't let opportunities slip away. Jennifer, I called out as she was leaving after our final session. She turned back, smiling. What's up? Would you like to have dinner with me sometime? Her smile widened. I thought you'd never ask. Our first date was nothing like the dates I'd had with Sarah 8 years ago. There was no anxiety about saying the right thing or being impressive enough. I was just myself, funny when I felt like being funny, serious when the conversation called for it, honest about my recent divorce and health scare. Jennifer appreciated the honesty. She told me about her own marriage that had ended badly, about the struggles of single parenthood, about the walls she'd built to protect herself from getting hurt again. You know what I like about you, she said over dessert at a little Italian place downtown. What? You don't try to fix everything. When I tell you about a problem, you don't immediately offer solutions. You just listen. It was funny, that was something Sarah had complained about. My tendency to try to solve her problems instead of just being there for her. But Jennifer saw it as a strength. Different people, different needs. I learned the hard way that sometimes people don't want to be fixed, I said. Sometimes they just want to be heard. Exactly. My ex-husband was always trying to manage my emotions, telling me how I should feel about things. Like I wasn't capable of handling my own life. And now? Now I only date grown-ups. She smiled. Men who can handle a woman with opinions and feelings and complications. We took things slow. Really slow. It was 3 weeks before we even kissed, and 2 months before I met her daughter. Jennifer wanted to be sure about me, sure about us, sure that her kid wouldn't get attached to someone who might not stick around. I respected that. More than respected it, I admired it. Here was a woman who knew what she wanted and wasn't afraid to set boundaries to protect it. She was the opposite of fragile, the opposite of someone who needed to be managed or protected. She was strong in a way that made me want to be stronger too. 8 months after our first date, Jennifer and I were shopping for groceries together when we ran into Sarah and Marcus. They were in the produce section, arguing quietly about something, probably the wedding plans, from what I could overhear. Sarah saw me first. Her face lit up with surprise and something else, curiosity? Regret? It was hard to tell. David. Hi. You look. She paused, taking in my appearance. I'd lost weight since the heart attack, started exercising regularly. Jennifer had convinced me to update my wardrobe too. I looked good, and I knew it. You look great. Thanks. You too. I turned to Marcus, who was watching our interaction with alert eyes. Marcus, good to see you recovered completely. Thanks to you, he said simply. I never properly thanked you for what you did. Paying for the surgery when you didn't have to. That was incredibly generous. Anyone would have done the same thing. No, Marcus said firmly. They wouldn't have. I've thought about it a lot, and I'm not sure I would have done the same thing if our positions were reversed. It was an honest admission. I liked him better for it. Sarah, Jennifer said politely. I've heard so much about you. Sarah's eyes widened slightly as she realized who Jennifer must be. And you're Jennifer. David's. She struggled with how to finish the sentence. Girlfriend, Jennifer supplied easily. Nice to finally meet you. You too. Sarah looked between Jennifer and me, and I could see her trying to process what she was seeing. This wasn't the David she remembered, the anxious, eager-to-please husband who'd revolved his entire world around her needs. This was a man who stood straighter, smiled more easily, touched his girlfriend's back with casual affection. How's the wedding planning going? I asked, genuinely curious. Sarah glanced at Marcus. It's complicated. Trying to coordinate two busy careers, deal with vendors, manage family expectations. Sometimes I wonder if we should just elope. Sometimes the simple solution is the best one, Jennifer said. My first wedding was this huge production that stressed everyone out for months. Looking back, I wish we'd just gone to Vegas. Sarah laughed, but it sounded strained. That's actually not a terrible idea. We chatted for a few more minutes about nothing important, the weather, the grocery store's renovation, generic pleasantries that helped fill the awkwardness. Finally, Sarah and Marcus excused themselves to finish their shopping. That was interesting, Jennifer said as we watched them walk away. How so? She's still in love with you. I looked at Jennifer in surprise. What makes you say that? The way she looked at you. The way she kept glancing at me like she was trying to figure out what I had that she didn't. The way she seemed almost sad when she saw how happy you looked. She chose Marcus. She's marrying him. People can choose the wrong thing and still regret it later. Jennifer squeezed my hand. Don't worry, I'm not threatened by her. I can see why you loved her, but I can also see why it didn't work. You two brought out each other's worst qualities. And what do we bring out in each other? Jennifer smiled. The best ones, I hope. I didn't expect to be invited to Sarah's wedding, but the invitation arrived in my mailbox on a Tuesday in March. Cream-colored cardstock with elegant script, announcing the marriage of Sarah Elizabeth Morrison and Marcus James Sullivan at the Riverside Country Club. Jennifer found it on the kitchen counter when she came over that evening. Are you going to go? I don't know. Should I? Do you want to? I thought about it honestly. Part of me is curious. I want to see if she's happy. Really happy, not just pretending to be. Then we should go. We? Jennifer shrugged. You were invited and guest. I'm your guest. Unless you don't want me there? I want you there. I just don't want you to feel uncomfortable. David, I'm a 35-year-old divorced mother. I can handle an awkward wedding. So we went. I bought a new suit, navy blue instead of the safe black I would have chosen before. Jennifer wore a dress that was beautiful without being attention-grabbing, and she looked stunning. The ceremony was at sunset on the country club's terrace overlooking the river. Sarah looked radiant in a flowing white dress that was more bohemian than the traditional gown she'd talked about wanting when we were married. Her hair was loose and curly, and she carried a bouquet of wildflowers instead of roses. She looked happy. Genuinely, authentically happy in a way I wasn't sure I'd ever seen her before. Marcus cleaned up well in his tuxedo. He looked nervous but excited, like a man who couldn't believe his luck. When Sarah appeared at the end of the aisle, his face lit up with such pure joy that I felt an unexpected pang of, not jealousy, exactly. More like recognition. That's how a man should look at the woman he's about to marry. Like she's the answer to every question he's ever asked. The ceremony was short and sweet. They'd written their own vows, which were honest and funny and deeply personal. Sarah promised to challenge Marcus to be better while accepting him as he was. Marcus promised to love Sarah's strength as much as her vulnerability, to be her partner rather than her protector. I found myself tearing up a little, and Jennifer squeezed my hand. You okay? She whispered. Yeah. I'm happy for them. And I was. Despite everything, despite the pain and betrayal and heartbreak, I was genuinely happy that Sarah had found what she was looking for. What we'd both been looking for in different people, different ways. At the reception, Jennifer and I sat at a table with some of Sarah's work colleagues. They were polite but curious, clearly wondering what the ex-husband was doing at the wedding. Jennifer handled their questions with grace, deflecting the nosier ones and redirecting the conversation to safer topics. During the father-daughter dance, Sarah caught my eye across the room. She smiled and nodded slightly, a thank you, maybe, or an acknowledgement of some kind. I nodded back. Later, while Jennifer was in the bathroom, Sarah approached our table. "Thank you for coming," she said. "It means a lot. Thank you for inviting me. The ceremony was beautiful. Marcus wanted to invite you. He said it felt wrong not to, after everything." She glanced around to make sure no one was listening. "David, I want you to know that I understand now. What I put you through, what I asked of you. I understand how wrong it was." "Sarah. No, let me say this. I've been in therapy since the divorce, trying to figure out why I did what I did. And I realized that I was scared. Scared of how much you loved me, scared of disappointing you, scared of not being worth that kind of devotion. So I sabotaged it. I found someone who loved me differently, more casually, I guess. It felt safer. And now? Now I'm with someone who challenges me to be brave instead of letting me hide." She looked toward the dance floor where Marcus was spinning her teenage niece around, both of them laughing. "He doesn't worship me the way you did. He loves me, but he's not afraid to call me out when I'm being selfish or cowardly. It's scarier, but it's also more honest. I'm glad you found that. Are you? Really? Really? We both deserve to be with people who bring out our best selves." Sarah looked at Jennifer, who was making her way back from the bathroom. "She seems wonderful. Strong. Confident. She is. Good. You deserve someone strong." Sarah paused. "I should go. Marcus will be wondering where I am. But David? Thank you. For everything. For the surgery, for the divorce, for letting me go gracefully. You're a better man than I deserved. You deserved better than I gave you too. We just weren't right for each other." "No, we weren't." She smiled sadly. "But I'm grateful for the 8 years anyway. They taught me what I was really looking for." Jennifer returned as Sarah was walking away. "Everything okay?" "Perfect," I said, and meant it. We left the reception around 10, both of us tired but content. In the car, Jennifer was quiet for a while. "Penny for your thoughts," I said. "I was just thinking about what she said to you. About you worshipping her." "What about it?" "I would hate that. Being worshipped, I mean. It's too much pressure. How can you be human when someone thinks you're a goddess? You don't have to worry about that with me." "Good. I want to be loved, not worshipped. I want a partner, not a devotee." I reached over and took her hand. "That's what I want too." 2 years later, I was back in a hospital. But this time, I wasn't the patient. Jennifer's daughter Emma, yes, she shared my sister's name, which we all found amusing, had broken her arm skateboarding and needed surgery to set the bones properly. It was a routine procedure, but Emma was scared, and Jennifer was doing her best to stay calm for her daughter's sake. "It's going to be fine," I told Emma as they wheeled her into the OR. "I've had surgery before, and the worst part is being bored afterward." Emma, who was 15 and usually too cool to show affection, grabbed my hand. "Will you be here when I wake up?" "Absolutely. I'll be right here." And I was. When Emma came out of surgery groggy and disoriented, the first face she saw was mine. Jennifer cried with relief, and I felt that same protective instinct I'd always had, but this time, it felt different. Healthier. I wasn't trying to fix everything or take away all the pain. I was just there, present and steady and reliable. The way a good partner should be. 6 months later, Jennifer moved into my house with Emma. We didn't make a big deal of it, just gradually merged our lives together in a way that felt natural and right. Emma got the guest room, which we redecorated in colors she chose. Jennifer's books mixed with mine on the shelves. Her coffee mug appeared in my cabinet. It was everything my marriage to Sarah hadn't been: easy, honest, full of laughter and genuine affection. We fought sometimes, but they were good fights about real issues, not the careful dance of avoidance that Sarah and I had perfected. Jennifer didn't need me to take care of her, which paradoxically made me want to take care of her even more. But it was different now. Instead of trying to eliminate all problems from her life, I simply offered support when she needed it and space when she didn't. You know what I love about us, she said one evening as we were cleaning up after dinner. What? We're a team. When Emma was giving me grief about her curfew last week, you backed me up without taking over. When you were stressed about that difficult client, I listened and offered advice without trying to solve everything. We're partners. Is that what you love most about us? She grinned. Well, that and the fact that you're really good in bed. I laughed and pulled her into my arms. Just really good? I'm insulted. Okay, amazingly good. Spectacularly good. Is your ego satisfied now? Getting there. We were happy. Really, genuinely happy in a way I'd never been before. Not the desperate happiness of someone trying to hold on to something that was slipping away, but the comfortable happiness of someone who'd found where they belonged. 3 years after the divorce, I got another call from a hospital. But this time, it wasn't about me. David? It's Marcus. His voice was shaky, scared. Sarah's been in an accident. Can you come? I found him in the same waiting room where I'd sat while he was having surgery, in almost the exact same spot. He looked terrible, unshaven, clothes wrinkled, eyes red from crying or lack of sleep or both. What happened? I asked, sitting down beside him. Car accident. Some drunk driver ran a red light and hit her driver's side door. His voice broke. She's in surgery now. They don't know if, they can't tell me if she's going to make it. I put my hand on his shoulder. She's strong. Sarah's stronger than she looks. I keep thinking about that night when you were here, when I was the one having surgery. You sat right here, didn't you? In this exact spot, waiting to hear if I was going to live or die. Something like that. I don't know how you did it. Knowing that she loved me and not you, knowing that she'd been lying to you for 2 years, and you still paid for the surgery. You still made sure I got the best care possible. I loved her. When you love someone, you want them to be happy, even if it's not with you. Marcus was quiet for a long time. Then, she talks about you sometimes. About the marriage, about how she messed things up. She says you were the best man she ever knew, and she destroyed it because she was too scared to be worthy of that kind of love. She wasn't wrong about being scared. But she wasn't wrong about deserving better either. We both did. Are you happy? With Jennifer, I mean. Very. Good. Sarah will be glad to hear that, if she. He couldn't finish the sentence. When she wakes up, I said firmly. When she wakes up, you can tell her yourself. Marcus looked at me with something like wonder. How are you not bitter? How do you not hate us for what we did to you? I thought about it. How do you explain to someone that nearly dying had been the best thing that ever happened to you? How do you tell them that their betrayal had set you free? Because you showed me who I really was, I said finally. Not the man I was pretending to be, but who I actually am underneath all the fear and people-pleasing. Sarah couldn't love that man because I never let her see him. I was too busy trying to be perfect. And now? Now I'm just myself. Flawed, imperfect, sometimes selfish, sometimes scared. But real. And Jennifer loves me anyway. Not despite my flaws, but including them. The surgeon came out 3 hours later with good news. Sarah was stable, the surgery had been successful, and while she'd have a long recovery ahead of her, she was going to be fine. Marcus broke down crying with relief, and I found myself tearing up too. Despite everything, I didn't want Sarah to die. I wanted her to live and be happy and grow old with the man she'd chosen. Can I see her? Marcus asked. Family only for now. She's unconscious anyway, the anesthesia will take a few more hours to wear off. I'm her husband, Marcus said. After the surgeon left, Marcus turned to me. Thank you. For coming, for sitting with me. I know you didn't have to. Yes, I did. We're connected, all of us. Sarah, you, me, we're part of each other's stories now. That doesn't just go away because the marriage ended. Marcus shook his head. I don't understand you, David. I really don't. But I'm grateful for you. I left the hospital thinking about connections, about how the people we've loved never really leave us completely. Sarah would always be part of my story, not the ending I'd once thought she was, but an important chapter that led me to where I needed to be. Jennifer was waiting up for me when I got home, even though it was past midnight. How is she? She asked. She's going to be fine. Long recovery, but fine. And Marcus? Scared out of his mind, but relieved. He loves her a lot. Jennifer studied my face. And how are you? I'm good. Really good. I pulled her close. I'm exactly where I want to be. 5 years later. I'm writing this on the 5th anniversary of my heart attack. 5 years since I died on an operating table and came back different. 5 years since I said the word divorce and meant it. Jennifer and I got married last year in a small ceremony in our backyard. Emma, now 20 and in college, walked Jennifer down the aisle. My sister Emma was the maid of honor. It was simple and perfect and nothing like the wedding Sarah and I had planned but never quite achieved. Sarah sent a congratulations card. She and Marcus are still married, still happy as far as I know. They moved to Portland 2 years ago when Marcus got a job offer he couldn't refuse. Sarah started writing again, not romance novels like before, but thoughtful essays about love and marriage and finding yourself. She's good at it. I run into them occasionally when they visit town. The conversations are friendly but brief, the way it should be between people who used to love each other but have moved on. There's no bitterness anymore, no regret. Just a kind of gentle fondness for the people we used to be. My business is thriving. I work with clients I respect on projects I care about. I charge what I'm worth and don't apologize for it. I take vacations and don't check email constantly. I've learned to say no. Jennifer's daughter graduated high school last year and is studying engineering at the state university. She still calls me David, not Dad, but she introduces me to her friends as her stepdad with obvious pride. When she broke up with her first serious boyfriend, she called me crying and asked for advice. It felt like an honor. I'm healthy. My heart is strong. I exercise regularly, eat well, manage my stress. I had another scare 2 years ago, chest pains that turned out to be anxiety, not cardiac, but I didn't panic. I went to the hospital, got checked out, took the all clear with gratitude and moved on. I've learned that almost dying isn't something that happens to you once and then you're done with it. It's something that changes how you see everything, forever. Every morning I wake up is a gift. Every laugh with Jennifer, every conversation with Emma, every quiet evening at home, all of it is borrowed time, and I'm grateful for every second. Sometimes people ask me if I regret the 8 years I spent with Sarah. If I feel like I wasted the best years of my life on someone who didn't appreciate me. I don't. Those 8 years taught me how to love someone completely, even if I did it imperfectly. They taught me what I needed in a partner and what I could offer in return. They taught me that love isn't always enough, sometimes you need compatibility and honesty and the willingness to fight for each other when things get hard. Sarah and I loved each other, but we were wrong for each other in fundamental ways. She needed someone who would challenge her to be brave. I needed someone who would love my strength instead of just my gentleness. We both found what we were looking for, just not with each other. And that's okay. Not every love story is meant to end in happily ever after. Sometimes the best thing love can do is teach you what you're really looking for, even if it means letting go of what you thought you wanted. I died for Sarah once, in that hospital room, paying for her boyfriend's surgery while my own heart was breaking. But when I came back to life, I came back for myself. For the man I could be if I stopped being afraid. For the life I deserved if I was brave enough to reach for it. The first word I spoke when I woke up was divorce. But it wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. I know it's long, I know it's complicated, and I know it doesn't have the kind of ending you might expect. But it's real, and it's mine, and I'm proud of how it turned out. If you're in a situation like I was, loving someone who can't love you back the way you need, staying in something that's slowly killing you because it feels safer than the unknown, I want you to know that it's okay to let go. It's okay to want more. It's okay to save yourself. You don't have to die to be reborn. Sometimes you just have to be brave enough to live.